Welcome to the comeback season, where we have real conversations about fueling your body, rebuilding strength, and stepping back into the life you were meant to live. Whether you've been caring for kids, aging parents, or just lost sight of your own needs, we see you. And this is your season to rise. Hello, my name is Nichole McLeod with Healthy Mind, Healthy Body. I'm a mindset and fitness coach and the author of I Started on a Tuesday. I know what it feels like to lose yourself in the chaos and still hold on to the hope that something better is coming.
And I'm Christi Kelsey from Christi Counts Macros, nutrition and mindset coach and food freedom advocate. I've worked with lots of women who felt stuck, restricted, and unsure where to even begin. Together, we're bringing you honest conversations, healing truths, and real strategies to help you rise again, physically, mentally, and emotionally, whether you've hit rock bottom or you're just tired of putting yourself last. This space is for you because this is your comeback season and it starts right now. Welcome to the comeback season, where we talk about what it really means to rise from the hard seasons and reclaim your life, body, mind, and soul. Today's episode is one of the most important ones we've done because we're digging into why most comebacks fail, why people get stuck, burn out, or quit, even when they want to change so badly. It's not about willpower, it's about your nervous system, your beliefs, and how you're feeding your mind just as much as your body. So, Nichole, let's dive into this. Your nervous system is running the show.
It is so true. And we were just talking behind the scenes. As a trainer of almost 30 years, I wish that I took more effort in understanding the nervous system and how much it affects my training, my clients, well, all of us human beings in general. Because if you don't have this right, nothing is going to be as good as it could be. And I'm not saying if you don't figure out your nervous system, you're not going to be able to work towards your fitness goals. Not at all, but it is the foundation because your body remembers everything, even when your mind forgets. It's so true.
Yep. Yes.
So the nervous system, it's a control center. It absolutely controls every single bit, your habits, your motivation, your stress, your energy levels. And anytime that system is dysregulated, making up new words here, it throws everything off. So many times when we think we're being lazy or, I just can't get there, there's something holding you back. Like, have you noticed that when you're coaching clients that sometimes there's just that roadblock?
Yes. And I've learned in this process of learning how to be a coach that, like 90 to 95% of the things we do happen in our subconscious. And, we just do them without even thinking about it. Like, think about how many times you take a breath in a day and you don't your brain doesn't have to think about that every time you take a breath or every time you blink your eyes. And so much of our life is run by these systems that we don't have to think about.
But you just said it. Just as we have that system of us that we don't have to think about it, it's in our subconscious. So is the trauma that you've experienced in your body locked in your subconscious. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the things that we do, we say, we act on, many times we don't even understand why we do that, but it really is a trigger. If something is a trigger of yours, that
Mm-hmm.
is your red flag, call it, that
Mm-hmm.
something needs to be addressed. Something needs to be changed. And I think that if many of us really thought of it that way, instead of just laughing about it, oh yeah, that's my trigger, whatever it may be, and just leaving it at that, try to understand why that's your trigger. Why does that bother you so much?
Mm-hmm.
start digging a little deeper, because we all know we got that fight, flight, or freeze modes that we can be in.
Yeah.
Understanding why you're in that mode is
Mm-hmm.
so important.
Yeah, and I think, to help our listeners understand, if we break down the nervous system, it has, two main branches. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, or freeze. That keeps us alive, it keeps us safe. And then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of us that needs us to rest and digest and calm ourselves down.
And so many people don't realize that if you are intentional with calming yourself down and you utilize, and we're going to talk about some of the tools that we can use a little bit later on here, but the first step is being mindful and intentional that this is the foundation, your nervous system. You can, if a kidney fails, you could in sense get a new kidney. There's organ transplants. You cannot get a transplant of your nervous system. It's one system in our body that if that goes or that is damaged or something goes with it, you're not going to survive. You can't transplant your nervous system. So understanding that your nervous system is the foundation for every single part of your body, including your mind, your subconscious mind, is a great starting point with understanding maybe the roadblocks you think,
Mm-hmm.
need to be looked at from a different perspective.
Yeah. So when we look at mindset, if you don't really believe that you're going to lose weight, you can do everything
Mhm.
right, and your body is not going to release that weight because of how that belief taps into your sympathetic nervous system, and um, that belief in and of itself will cause stress on your body.
You're identifying as it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had so many clients, if I had $1 for every time I had this said to me, I'd be rich. That saying so silly, but it's true. Come to me or start training with me and tell me I can't lose weight. I've been overweight my whole life. This is impossible. And they tell me, I'm like, you're right. You won't be able to because you just said it. So you need to start restructuring the narrative in your head is the foundation to start taking your nervous system seriously. The words that come out of your mouth, your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts
Mm-hmm.
matter, and they start with intentional changes that you are capable of making.
Yeah. Um, I had a client one time, Nichole, that, she admitted that she said a lot of negative things to herself in her head. And I asked her, "Is that true?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well,
Wait.
why, yeah, why don't you
Not say them.
say positive things about yourself?" "Well, those aren't true either. I don't really believe that." And I said, "Well, you're already telling yourself a lie. So why don't you tell yourself something good about yourself, and then you'll become that. You'll identify with that rather than the negative thing." And she was blown away. She was just like, "I've never thought about it that way."
But it really is that easy. Like that when some people still think that daily affirmations are silly, but they're not silly. They're a way that you can rewire your brain. Neuroplasticity, I always know why I stumble over that word, is absolutely what forms our brains and that never stops. Neuroplasticity can happen till in your 90s and will always happen and adjust to the environment that you are living in. Now, when I
Mhm,
say the environment, it's not just geographically or what's around you, it's the environment in your head. What are you saying to yourself?
mhm,
How is your brain adapting to what is being said to you from the outside? Yes, but the narrative that's going on internally. And that rewiring of the brain can happen at any time. And it's not necessarily something that has to have an event happen. You can choose to start by simply saying something positive, just like you just said.
Mhm.
Understanding the toxic behavior that you are doing to yourself. And
Mm.
that is another thing, why people tell you that you are who you hang around with. You are who
Yeah.
you hang around with because your brain is listening to what you are bringing into it, right?
Mhm.
One thing that I'm actually getting my neuroscience coaching right now. So this is kind of neat to everybody's on this journey with us, Christy. Let's be
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah.
It's a journey. There's no doubt. But what I'm learning, I wish that as a trainer, this was in the material that we have to learn in order to get our certifications. Because what I'm learning in this is helping me restructure my way of thinking around my training. And
Mhm.
we right before we started recording here, we were talking about my recent injury. I broke my back a few months ago, and during that time I wasn't able to train my clients the same as I've always trained them, so I had to readjust quickly. And I did this without even realizing what I was doing, but I started to pay more attention to past experiences. And of course, I need to still ask them the questions of, you know, the health specific onboarding about their physical aspects, injuries, and that sort of thing. But when I restructure to start in the mind, I can't believe the results that my clients got in those 3 months. And some of these people, I would have been training them for years, but it was when I tapped into a different mindset. And that mindset was, hey, we have this trauma that's locked in our bodies from however long ago. For example, my onboarding now is, were you bullied as a kid? Who were
Mhm.
you bullied by? Was it your parents, your safe zone? Because that is a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
Or was it, and I'm not downplaying if you were bullied as a kid from peers, because that is just as bad. But, there's certain, these questions I would have never asked two
Mhm.
decades ago or,
Mhm.
or even 5 years ago, but realizing that the foundation of their fitness and reaching their goals is understanding what makes them tick and how the mind is the foundation. Well, what is the mind? Well, the mind is your nervous system.
Mhm.
And it's interesting that memory and emotion are actually biologically linked. You don't just remember stress, you actually relive the stress. So
Mhm.
when we're thinking that, oh, I don't hang around with those people anymore because my cortisol levels, I can feel that, or that scenario, I choose not to be around. If you haven't done the work to change how your body reacts to even hearing about those stories, when you are in a similar situation that your body, your mind thinks you're in, even if you aren't, you're still going to release that same cortisol. You're still going to have those same feelings and emotions if you haven't done the work. It's interesting, hey?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, there was something you said a few minutes ago that made me think about, um, this it's one thing to say you need to have a positive mindset or change your mindset or whatever. And some people might not understand how to do that, but we all have that inner critic inside our head that's telling us we messed up or we're never going to be good enough, things like that. But we don't have to listen to those voices. We don't have to um, listen to what they say. And I know that that's hard for some people to think about, well, how do I change that? But if you ask yourself, and I think I've said this in a previous episode, is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? Those kind of questions. And it's usually no. But
Mhm.
if you think about yourself as a child, and if you take a picture of yourself as a child and just put it in front of you, and how would you talk to that person? How would you talk to that little girl? You wouldn't say those things that you're saying in your mind to that little girl. And if you can't have even that much self-love, think about another child. Would you say those things to a child or your friend? And that's one thing that's really helped me. And my message has always been to make these changes out of a place of self-love, because that's really where it changed for me. I had a dramatic shift in how I thought about my body and myself, because of the health issues that I went through. And I see a difference in my clients when they come at these goals out of a place of love for self. And
Mhm.
it takes a shift in mindset, but it starts with how is that inner dialogue and how you talk to yourself.
That's so true because a lot of the times when you're failing ongoing, you're just like, this is it. I'm weak. I can't do this right now. It's not necessarily that you're weak and you can't do this. It's your brain can't operate in the environment that you're currently living in. And when I say that, I don't again mean necessarily what's going on around, but what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
And your brain needs to feel safe. We
Yeah.
need to feel safe as human beings. And if we don't feel like we can trust that where we are, and if we could be living in survival mode, not quote unquote feeling safe for decades of our life. People can die not ever getting this right and realizing that in order to feel safe, we have to fix the trauma that's locked in our bodies if we realize it or not, because our
Mm-hmm.
subconscious mind also needs to feel safe. And if all
Mm-hmm.
these things have happened to you in the past and you haven't structured things a little different in how you respond, you're going to be living in that insanity loop. And I've always called it the insanity loop of fitness. But I realize that maybe I didn't understand why it was an insanity loop, but it's an insanity loop because you're not getting to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is what's going on in your mind, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, or what's happened to you, what's going on in your mind because of what's happened to you. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't start going through the motions of fixing that and
Mm-hmm.
changing that story in your head, then you're going to keep going in loops.
Yeah. You can't outrun a dysregulated mind.
That brings us to our next topic, buddy.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
perfect was that?
Yeah. And, like I talked about the two different parts of the nervous system. If you think about your body like a car, the sympathetic system is the gas pedal. You need it to get things moving, but you can't drive forever with your, you know, foot all the way down on the gas.
Or the gas, yes.
And the parasympathetic system is the brake. It helps you slow down, refuel, and stay in control. And yeah, you get your best when you balance the two. You need both, but we don't need to be running with our pedal to the metal, so
Yeah.
to speak, all the time. And I find that, a lot of people do that. Like, I need to do more, I need to eat less, I need to exercise more, I need to add more steps, more, more, more.
Here's that gas pedal.
Yes, yes, but what we really need, we need better sleep. We need to eat more. We need to take a rest day. And for some reason, that's harder to believe
Yeah.
than I need to do more, more, more.
Your body will not lose weight if you're in survival mode.
Hmm.
Most of my clients undereat, not
Hmm.
overeat.
Same.
Even obese clients undereat. They don't eat the right foods, but they don't understand that um, emotional eating, whatever, or lack thereof, which is also emotional,
Hmm.
is just as big of a problem and shoots their that I love that steps on the gas a little bit more. There that cortisol's going, and every time the cortisol's going in your body, you're on the gas pedal.
Right. And then you also get that all or nothing thinking that I've either got to go all out or, toss everything out the window.
Mhm.
I'll start again on Monday. How many times have we said that?
That's the reason for my book. I started on
I
a
know.
Tuesday. I got a whole
I
book about
know.
it.
Yeah, so emotional eating, all or nothing mentality. A lot of people are just tired. They're just tired because we're always doing things. We don't take time to rest and recover. And then we get decision paralysis as well. Like, we just get stuck in our patterns, and it's a lot harder to get inertia to get out of that, to really make some changes if you're stuck in those patterns.
But that's a great point, friend, is that you can have your foot on the gas pedal while in paralysis.
Hmm.
And I think that's one thing that we feel that we have to overperform. We got to do all these things, but doing all the things is what's pushing you deeper into the that loop that you've got yourself stuck in.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the fact you can't heal your body while you're hating your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that really comes into it. We're in fight or flight mode. We're in go, 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 or maybe paralysis because you're now in freeze mode, but
Mm-hmm.
you're stuck in this survival mode on some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people realize that in order to truly heal your nervous system, just like you just said, we have to be kind and we have to be mindful and intentional to be kind to
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. So, what do we do about that? How do we come out of that? What are some tools that we can switch from that sympathetic to the parasympathetic?
We're going to
Um,
go over a bunch of those, but let's
yeah.
hold tight to the end
Yep.
because
Yep.
don't jump ahead yet.
I wasn't going to, Nichole.
Just wanted to put in a little teaser there. One thing I actually want to bring up is, and if any of my listeners have been done my classes before, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? You were go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
And there really is something to be said about the fact that there are no amount of burpees that you can do that will get you out of fight or flight mode. If you
Mm-hmm.
are in, although yes, working out releases a hormone, like the best antidepressant hormone on the market, if you aren't dealing with your nervous system and doing other strategies that we are going to talk about, like breathing, for example,
Mm-hmm.
techniques, tapping, whatever it is, whatever amount of exercise, if you're working really hard, you could be actually putting yourself further into the opposite direction that you want to be in. So
Right.
something that you have to think about, that yes, you still need to do the work. And I'm not by any means saying don't go move your body and don't do the work, but it has to be simultaneous. Because if it's not, and you think you can just go to the gym and start doing these things and eventually everything else in your life is going to magically get better, it absolutely will not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Back in the caveman days, or however you want to think about that,
As long as I wasn't
survival.
alive during them.
Yeah, survival mode was you might be chased by a bear or a saber-toothed tiger, and
Mhm.
now like that would be a short-term thing, and then you'd find safety and you'd calm down and rest and spend time with your family or your rock or whatever. And
Whatever it is.
but now, I mean, we're constantly exposed to stressors, whether that's traffic from commuting every day or the amount of emails we get in our inbox or even just
Social media.
social media. I mean, that is the ultimate, my predators are looking at me and they're going to eat me alive
Right?
situation that we have nowadays. And it can be really stressful. And then you add on top of that our schedules are packed full. We're going from activity to activity to activity,
Mhm.
and we just do a lot because we don't have to, grow our own food and you know go hunt a deer or whatever for our meal. But um we've got to realize that, especially like coming from a nutrition point of view, a lot of people just want to keep cutting calories over
Yeah.
and over and over, but your body doesn't realize you're trying to lose fat so you look good in your bikini.
Right.
Your body responds to that as, oh my goodness, we're in a famine. I have got to hold on to everything in case a bear chases us, because I'll need energy to run away. And
Yep.
so cutting and cutting and cutting more and more calories isn't going to help you. So
It will actually work very much against you. And it's
yes,
a great
yes,
way to get that metabolism even as lower than it was before.
yes. And, especially if you're 40 and older, our bodies are already fighting the cortisol situation. So,
Absolutely. In this little course I'm taking, a gentleman by the name of, it's called Hebb's Law, and it's neurons that neurons that fire together wire together.
Mm.
So if you're in constant fight or flight mode and you're constantly in that, your neurons are going to be working together, but not it for the good for yourself, right? Like you
Mhm.
can't rewire your brain in fight or flight mode. If you want to teach your brain how to, calm, and you're working on self-regulating and taking emotional intelligence to a whole new level, if you're in fight or flight mode, it's contradicting. It's not, you're going to wire your brain in a way you don't want to. So you
Mhm.
have to be mindful of that. What mode are you in? And if I'm in fight or flight mode, if I'm in survival mode, I need to be doing the steps to calm my mind
Mhm.
before I try to take on all these big life changes. Because if I don't do that first, it's kind of like trying to, drive a car with no tires or gas. It's not going to
Mhm.
work. You need to make sure you have that foundation again of safety. What steps do I need to take to get this mind on a different playing field so that I can rewire it in a healthier way? Because before you can train new habits, you have to regulate the environment that you're in, again, in your mind, to allow that to happen. If you're constantly in the same environment trying to get these new habits, well, your brain's just going to wire it all together and you're not going to go, to the other side of where you actually want to be.
Yeah.
Because real or the what we have our little tag phrase here, the real comeback starts from the inside, but it's true,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you don't start with doing the work from the inside, everything else on the outside, the comeback, isn't going to be as easy.
Right. And, that kind of goes back to what I was saying before about remembering who you were as a child before all of these layers of, um, I don't want to call it harm, but,
Before the world started to bury you.
yes, yeah,
Yes.
exactly, exactly. And also, I've said this before, but who is that future self? Who is that person? What does that person do? And even if you can't see that, somebody that you admire or want to be like what do they do to be like that? And I love this quote from James Clear. He wrote Atomic Habits. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. So even if you don't think you're a healthy person or whatever it is that that person is you want to become, you start taking those actions to
I'm
be.
so excited for the conversation next week of with our guest and who I'm becoming, because
Yeah.
it's about how you how you respond in the messy middle when you're in
Hmm.
the process. And I believe that's what we get stuck in. We have this person that we want to be, we have who we are, but while
Hmm.
we're in that process of the messy middle, we wanted to snap our fingers and be to the person we want to be. But we have to
Right.
understand there's a process for that.
Yeah. So instead of, how do I lose the weight? Who am I becoming? What kind of actions does that person take to get to be that person?
I personally actually believe that's a big reason that a lot of women get stuck in burnout is they believe that their what they produce outweighs, like they just have to keep performing, perseverance, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And it's in that moment that we don't really stop to go, okay, I don't actually need to be performing to this point because I'm missing that middle of what needs to happen. And a
Hmm.
lot of the times we keep pushing and at that end goal of, like we just said, the person we want to be, but we're not considering the person we need to be to get to the person we want to be. What does the person that we need to be in that process? And I don't mean to overcomplicate it because that also is a bad thing, but understanding that that burnout happens usually in that process.
Hmm. Yeah. And then if we're, in that constant sympathetic nervous system running all the time, it just adds more and more to the stress cycle.
Because it's not about discipline. It's actually about self-trust.
Hmm.
It's actually about trusting, yes, trusting the process. How many times have we heard that saying? But trusting in who you're becoming and trusting yourself and that instinct. Because I don't think enough of us really believe, we say it, but do we really wholeheartedly believe it? Do we really trust ourselves?
Mhm.
I know I haven't. Not proud of it either.
Yeah. And what does that look like? It looks like showing up for yourself over and over and over and over again.
Yes. And believing that, when you believe that, because when you believe that you're always falling behind, when you believe that you're always just trying to catch up, that
Mhm.
in itself will keep you stuck in that survival mode. If you
Mhm.
trust that you're doing the best you can, you're making this, you're doing the steps, you're making the effort, you're being intentional with it, and trusting who you're becoming in the process is honestly the step one of getting yourself out of that.
Yeah.
So our next, I just want to say here, long-term change rewires both procedural memories, their habits, and semantic memories, your beliefs. Because what you believe about yourself is actually what you become. So if you really think about that, the procedural memory, your habits that you're doing, and this goes back to what you were talking about, even if you don't believe it, say
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
live like it. But know that, yes, of course, I want to be this one person, but it's in the process of becoming that person I want to be, but absolutely embody it along
Mhm.
the way.
Yeah. Yes. That reminds me of when I started lifting at the gym. I was so intimidated by going into a gym and lifting weights. There's a whole bunch of guys in the gym that I go to. And I just started going, and I would learn a couple of new machines or try a few new lifts every time I went, and then go back to those over and over again. And then pretty soon I had a routine down, and then I didn't have to try so many things, but I would still incorporate a new exercise every once in a while. And now I have friends in the gym, and I've realized people aren't watching what you're doing,
Nope.
and I'm a lifter now, and I
Yeah.
identify as that. But before, when I first started, it was like, oh, everybody's looking at me. I feel so self-conscious. And I that was the story I was telling myself. But now I don't even think about those things. But it's because I went over and over and over again. And of course, when you're learning something new, it's going to feel hard, and
Mhm.
you're going to feel self-conscious, but the more you do it, the more it becomes your habit.
That's why I always tell clients, and it's so hard with social media nowadays, because there's always these, if you want the perfect bum, do these 5 exercises, and
Yeah.
then someone else will give you five more and five more and five more, and
Yeah.
before you know it, you got 100 exercises and you just want a great butt.
Right.
Perfect the movement.
Mm.
Always perfect the movement. And yes, of course, you have to change it up for your body to not adapt, but
Mhm.
changing it up does not have to mean changing the exercise. It could be changing the
Yeah.
intensity, right?
Yeah.
How much weight you're doing, how many reps you're doing. Get good at each one of those exercises, because in addition to your muscle memory happening and things working in your favor for that, confidence. Confidence is so important. So when you're in the gym and you got those 10 exercises, you're doing them well, you're going to build up your confidence and start learning more. And that's really where the journey begins to so many
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's get into these practical tools we're going to give everybody to take away and hopefully make some changes for themselves for the better. I'm going to start off with my number one, and that is breath work. And I'm really sorry if it's yours too. Let's talk about that first. Breath work, critical. Before anything, when you feel that anxiety coming on, even
Mhm.
before your workouts, if you're in the midst of it and something that you're thinking about bothers you, breathe. Don't
Mhm.
hold your breath. Learn simple strategies for breath work.
Yeah. I love that one. I actually use a lot of breath work myself. And, a lot of times when I feel stressed is in the middle of the night. I'm laying there wide awake and I can't go back to sleep. And so
Yes.
I will use breath work for that. And it usually calms me down enough that I can go back to sleep.
Yeah. Before you even know it.
Yeah.
It's incredible and it's at our disposal and we don't use it.
Yeah.
It's something that we hear about often. I would love to do, we are going to do an episode on breath work because that is a critical tool for people to have. What about you? What's one go-to? Let's give someone,
So I I am not a fan of skipping meals.
yeah.
I really encourage women to feed themselves. I
Mhm.
really think, like you said, so many people underfeed themselves, and it's not good for your body, especially if you're 40 and older. So I'm going to say eat within 1 hour of waking, especially if you are someone who carries a lot of stress
Mhm.
and you feel like you're or know that your cortisol is high. If you eat within 1 hour of waking, that kind of signals to your body, we're not in distress, we're safe, we're okay.
Intermittent fasting is not for everyone. And I don't know enough in terms of giving scientific proof of any of this, but um, if you have a certain A1C, I want to say, and I'm just throwing this out here, I want to say it's above 5.5. You are not a candidate for intermittent fasting.
Mhm.
So understanding, or no, you are. Oh, shoot. See, I'm already screwing this up. Go to a doctor and find out what, get some information on that because intermittent fasting is not for everybody,
Mhm.
especially middle-aged women going through menopause. It's one of the worst things that you can do for your body. Your body needs the nourishment to get through a lot of the hard times for sure.
Yeah.
Another one for me is journaling.
Mm.
And I think I've been a broken record for with this is journaling is a great way to let that subconscious mind start to come
Mhm.
out. And we
Yeah.
talked a little bit about that at the beginning is understanding that we don't have always control and things get locked in our body. One way out is doing morning brain dumps. As soon
Mhm.
as you get up, just start writing and just let the pen go or
Mhm.
whatever you're doing at the time. If it's typing, I find pen to paper works so much better. But
Yeah.
just get those anything and everything that comes to your mind, write it down.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
incredible where that goes.
yes. And just to add on to that is, maybe at the end of the day, keep a little notebook by your bed and just write down your wins that you had during the day because
Yes.
that can really reinforce the positive in your subconscious.
And if there is a roadblock that came your way, don't look at it as a negative. Still write it down, but then just do a little add on. This thing happened. What am I going to do better next time?
Mhm.
That rewires your brain to understand that we're safe. Yep,
Mhm.
that thing happened, but we're okay. And this is our plan. And that plan is enough to regulate my nervous system. So now I'm
Mhm.
okay with that thing that happened. And if it happens again, I have a plan for it. I'm
Yeah.
taking a little speaking course right now as well. And in that, we there was a whole segment on if this thing happens on stage, what's your backup? So we're going to think of all the bad things that can
Mhm.
happen and we're going to have a plan for every single bad thing that could happen. And that just brings down that, just
Yeah.
regulates that nervous system, right? So when that thing happens, I have a plan for it. It's okay.
Yeah. That's good. I would say number two for me is to prioritize protein.
Mm,
And
yes.
if you're not used to eating a high protein diet, start with like 90 to 100 grams a day. But protein will help balance your blood sugar. And you might find that if you have cravings in the afternoon, that those disappear. And just prioritizing protein will probably change your body composition a little bit if you've never done it before.
I don't mean to sound dramatic. It's going to change your life. Let's be honest.
Yes, it does. It
It
does.
makes so many changes.
It
Yes.
makes a huge difference. And if you're vegetarian, there are still ways
Mhm.
to find some great vegetarian sources for protein. Your protein goal might not be as high as someone who eats animal products, but you can still do it.
It's important to consider though, if you need to understand that in order to accomplish a lot of our goals, fitness goals, if you don't have enough protein, your body doesn't have the fuel it's going to require, be required to build the muscles. So
Right.
something,
It's like asking someone to build a house and not provide any materials.
that's right. It helps regulate hormones. It does so many. The list goes on.
Yeah,
We could have a segment just on protein for sure.
for sure.
Another big one for me is, of course, moving my body. The walk. Don't underestimate a 10-minute walk ever.
Mhm.
If you are struggling and you are just have this roadblock and you can't think about something, or you're struggling with whatever project you're working on, the answer is in your subconscious mind. It's there. You just got to dig it out. And the quickest way to dig it out is remove yourself from wherever you are at the time, change the scenery. Quick, this doesn't have to take long, a quick 10-minute walk. And a lot of the times that'll allow your subconscious to catch up and realize what it needs to do. I do it all the time.
Yeah, and walking after meals actually helps regulate
Big.
blood sugar as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
good one. I wholeheartedly agree with that. So I would add hydration, and we
Mm-hmm.
talked about hydration in our last episode, but getting enough water, but also minerals
Mm-hmm.
as well as the water that will help your body absorb the water and use it properly.
That's right. And we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I just want to say it again, is the affirmations. If you don't believe it, that doesn't matter. Say it. Say the words. Have it in front of you. Say it while you're going for a walk. My body is safe. My comeback is sacred. Whatever little tag phrase you want to tell yourself, because your brain is listening. It absolutely is going to do what you say it. And don't think that thoughts that you have a get out of jail free card for those thoughts too. Like, your thoughts matter as well. So saying it and thinking it, don't let the negative take over. A negative mind does not perform nearly as good, and it will actually hold you back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would add, if you're willing to do this, however, whatever your beliefs are, take time to meditate or pray or just connect with nature. Those kind of things will really help with your stress levels for sure.
God tells us, be still and know.
Yeah.
It's not just about, it's a scripture, but it's your body's way of signaling your nervous system that you're safe. Be
Mm-hmm.
still and know that everything is going to be okay. God's got it, but we need to be still and know that. It's so
Yeah.
much easier said than done. I understand that as well. But we need to understand that the brain rewires through repetition and emotional engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you rewire your brain. Emotionally believing, that it's possible, and the repetition of doing it. Calm consistently rewires your identity faster than chaos ever will. If you think that you're going to accomplish all these goals in a chaotic mind, you might be greatly disappointed. A nice little quote. Do I even have the author? I don't. So my apologies on this, but your nervous system learns by experience. Every walk, every breath, every nourishing bite is your body learning, this is who I am. And that really needs to be, we need to remind ourselves of that regularly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, finishing off here, I just want everybody to remember, you are not broken. You are not too far gone, and there's always a way out of whatever situation you're in. You're just simply dysregulated. The reason you feel stuck, burnt out, or like nothing is working, even when you're doing all of the right things, has actually nothing to do with your willpower and everything to do with your nervous system, your beliefs, and your identity, what you're telling yourself, and what's beneath the surface. So just do a little summary here of what we talked about today. We talked about how your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. That emotional stress, the trauma, and even the pressure to be perfect are all stored in your nervous system. And until you feel safe, your body won't feel it's time to change. We talked about the healing isn't about a hustle, it's about regulation and taking the time to understand that. It's about learning to calm your system, fuel your mind and your body with real support, and take action from a place of worth, knowing your worth and not from shame. We reframe the goal. It's not about weight loss. It's the identity. Who are we becoming? What version are you voting for yourself today? How are you in that process? And we gave some real tools that they can use: breath work, journaling, nourishing your body, regulating with intention. These aren't fluffy things that, might work. They will work. They do work. And these are how you rewire your brain. Because here's the truth: your comeback doesn't start in the mirror, it starts in your mind, it starts in your body, and more so, it starts in your nervous system. Thank you so much for listening. Episode 4, and we can't wait to see you next week because it's a good one, my friends. It's all about the becoming. Thank you for joining us on the comeback season. Please remember, the conversations we share here are for informational and motivational purposes only. We are not licensed medical professionals, and this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace guidance from your doctor or your healthcare provider. Always consult your healthcare team before making changes to your nutrition, your fitness, or your mental health routines. Your health and well-being comes first, and we want you to move forward safely with the right support for your journey.